Hi, we are Chris and Ashley, and we are marriage surviving sexual addiction and infidelity. And we have a lot of questions here in front of us, and we are so sorry. For whatever reason, my phone was not alerting me when we got new comments or questions on some of our videos. And I went through them the other night and saw that I had missed a ton of questions. And so we just want to tackle them all in just this one video.
Yeah.
The first question is porn cheating? And again, I'll say on a lot of these questions, this is what Chris and I have done and what we feel, and obviously we completely understand that every situation is unique. So I'm going to share what I feel about if porn is cheating. My personal answer is that yes, it is. The Bible says that if you even look upon another woman and lust after her, then in your mind, then it's cheating. And I tend to go off that basis. Like I literally think that some of the things that my husband has said to me in the past, of when he was disclosing all the things that he had done when I had finally found out, and some of them were just in his mind, they were just as painful as the real things. Because if you're thinking about that way about another woman and you're wanting to do those things with another woman, then in my personal opinion, it is cheating. So yes, I very much so think that pornography and objectifying women in that way and everything like that is cheating. And I know a lot of people would disagree, and I know that the world will disagree, that a lot of people will say, it's just pornography,
It's just a tool.
it's just a tool, it's just a magazine and things like that. But to me, it's cheating. And to me and to my heart, and as his wife, I can tell you, all he needs to know, whatever anybody else takes from this is fine. That's their own feelings. But all he needs to know is that it hurts my heart very much if he is looking at pornography or with a physical woman or any of it. It all hurts me very badly. So yes, it's cheating to me.
Yeah, my opinion on the matter is that it's absolutely cheating. And I mean, that's coming from someone who has done all of that. Because it's a level of unfaithfulness. I'm not being faithful to my wife when I am looking upon other women, or when I am gratifying myself, instead of it being a mutual act of love between the two of us. And unfaithfulness, you can be unfaithful on so many levels. I mean, pornography is being unfaithful. It is cheating. Therefore, you can be unfaithful to your spouse and emotionally cheat in the relationships you have with other people when you start confiding in other people instead of your spouse. I mean, I think anytime you have anything that comes between you and your spouse, it creates these wedges, and pornography is an awful wedge between two people that the goal is to be in sync and to love one another and to cherish one another and only each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, so I mean that's our standpoint, and that's where we stand. And I think that most women would agree. No matter what, they may not think that pornography is cheating, but I think any single time, no matter who you are, what your stance is, if somebody's looking at pornography, it's probably going to hurt that significant other's feelings. Just bottom line. So
because I know, roles reversed, I would be hurt.
yeah.
I would be hurt if this was Ashley's struggle and the role was reversed. And so,
And more than that, he'd be hurt, he'd be
devastated.
insecure,
Yeah.
he'd be
Is it me? What have I? Was I not
yeah.
doing enough? Am I not handsome enough? What is causing this?
Yeah.
And so,
So if we look at it that way, in our mind, we have a pretty strong standpoint that pornography is cheating. The next question is, what are the right questions to ask, and are there wrong questions to ask? And this one's a tricky one because it kind of depends on what situation you're in. If you're talking about what are the right and wrong questions to ask when you're dating, that's a whole nother probably topic.
yeah.
If you're asking right now with a serious significant other, whether it's like you've been with fiance or boyfriend, girlfriend for a long time, or husband and wife. Basically, in my opinion, you ask any questions that are in your head. The Whoever your significant other is, I was just telling this to Chris the other day. We should feel safe enough with each other to communicate
Anything.
all feelings, no matter how it's going to make the other one feel. Because there's a few things that we might have or might say that we know might hurt their feelings. Or whatever, but they're questions or things that I have, and so I have to ask them. That's me personally, that's what I feel. And so I asked him to do the same. I said, no matter what you think the outcome is, or if you think it's going to upset me or make me mad, or or make me sad or make me triggered or whatever it is, I still want you to ask me those questions if you have, or tell me those feelings if you have them. We should be safe enough in order to do that, and then deal with whatever things come after that. So if you have a question in your head, I feel like you should be able to ask it. Yeah. Now, the only thing that I would say is, if there's a wrong question, is the only questions that I would label wrong that I asked is that sometimes I asked for too many details. I don't regret it, but it has made certain aspects of our marriage after the fact very difficult. And I don't think it helped me to have every single nitty-gritty detail. I think it was specifics, like how many times do you watch pornography? What kind of pornography are you into? What are you doing about trying to overcome your pornography? How often do you slip up? Those are specifics, but the details of, well, where were you? What were you thinking about with her? And just lots of different specifics that painted a picture so explicit in my mind that those images, those details are very hard to erase. And they're very, very difficult sometimes to overcome, because I didn't ask just how many times with her. I asked, how'd you hold her hand? Why'd you do that? And now if he holds my hand in that way, it's painful. If he touches me the way I got the detail of how he touched her, it's painful. It's triggering every single time.
Brings it all back.
And so when I say wrong questions, I would say some of the detailed questions can be very damaging and painful to you. I think this will stick with me for forever, unfortunately. And like I said, I don't regret it, because I'm a detail asker. That's just something I needed, because if not, I painted far worse pictures in my head and things like that. But I do think maybe there was a few things that if I could go back and just get a specific instead of a detail, I would do so. So that would be the only questions that I would say maybe are wrong. But you should be able to ask your significant other, and there should be a level of safety among both of you, to be able to ask whatever question you want. And if there is not, again, there's some questions that would really hit a hot spot on Chris, and I would call it pulling out his Hulk. Like a very aggressive, angry Hulk would come out if I pushed too far on certain things. If there are some of those things that you recognize in your significant other, those might be the kinds of questions that you ask in front of a counselor, in front of somebody that is licensed to help in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think that's a thought I'm having in this, that maybe it's not necessarily that the questions are wrong, but it's making sure that the setting is appropriate. Yeah. So maybe if we're sitting down to talk directly about some of these things, and questions are going to be asked, it may be that we need to prepare for it. Yeah. Whether that's through prayer, whether that's having a counselor present, whether that's just taking time to emotionally get ready for what's going to take place, so that I can prepare myself going, okay, Ashley has a right to know this. How can I answer these without getting defensive or feeling like I'm being attacked, things like that,
Yeah.
knowing that she has a right to know. So I don't know that it's so much wrong questions as it is make sure it's an appropriate setting,
Yeah.
appropriate time, you've prepared for it, you're ready to hear the horrible answers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of sometimes it's got to be a controlled atmosphere if that makes sense. So I would agree, not necessarily wrong question, but there is such a thing as timing and setting, I think for sure when it comes to these very difficult questions to ask. Um the next one is check-ins. Do they become really annoying, and if so, how do you deal with that? In the beginning, we checked in. I don't even think it was even just once a night. I think
Oh,
it was
yeah, periodically.
multiple times a day,
Well,
honestly, in
and
the beginning.
especially too when the biggest problem with me is never knowing how I'm feeling. Like as an addict, I wasn't in touch with my feelings, so because
Yeah.
I'd bury them all, and that's when the addiction would come out. And so, as I was learning to understand what are my feelings right now, there was a point where every hour I would check in with Ashley and go, "Here's how I'm feeling right now." You know, as I think about this, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling inadequate. I'm feeling really good. You know, whatever it might be. And so there's times that the check-ins are a lot.
And were they annoying? Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
for both of us. They were annoying. They got old. It got old to like feel like, oh, we don't even know where we stand. We're constantly checking in. I didn't want to check in. I don't want to have to live my life that way, to be honest. I don't want to have to sit there and ask my husband, "How are you feeling? Cuz you're bad at communication. So can you please tell me and dig down deep what you're feeling?"
Instead of just
And hey, check in with me. Can you tell me, have you messed up with pornography today? And again, I would put it so point blank, because like if he'd get annoyed with me for feeling like nervous, like I did need to check in, and what if he slipped up today? I'm like, oh, you're annoyed with me? Okay, let's recall this with you right now, okay? I am checking in to see if you've looked at other women today. So both of us are annoyed. It's not just you who's annoyed
mm-hmm.
that I have to check in with you. I'm annoyed that I have to check in.
Or that I'm having to be babysat, or
Yeah.
be asked, or I
I'm
have no
annoyed.
freedom, or
I'm annoyed that I
you
have
don't
to
trust me.
check in with something like this.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to check in with something like this, but we are, and we're working through it. So if we're going to work on it together, yes, it's probably annoying, but it's annoying for both people.
And
So,
understand why it is, because you're trying to work through something.
yeah.
And anything that is worth working through is going to be hard.
Yep.
Hence annoying.
Yeah. And so now, it's more like a check-in once a week. And that came after a long time of both of us creating safety. We both checked in, we both did our safety scripts, we both did the homework and the ground rules and the everything that our counselors set up for us. We both did all of these different things. So after a long time of doing that, it started to become check-in once a week, and we even sometimes miss the once a week check-ins.
And that's that's an explicit check-in. That's okay, we're going to check in, as opposed to as I become more capable of understanding my emotions and understand the need more to communicate with my spouse.
Yeah.
Now I communicate.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, I'm checking in with you. Here's what I'm doing. It's no.
Yeah.
Hey, just a heads up, I've got this going on and I'm going to do this, and hey, here's how I'm going to make sure that I avoid temptations today, because I'm learning to just communicate instead of saying, I need to check in with you, here you go.
Yeah. Now he just shares the emotions and the feelings that he has throughout his day. The once a week check-in is if he's slipped or not. Those are what that becomes now.
Gives me time to ponder and be honest, as opposed to, oh, she's having a hard time, I can't tell her now. I get to sit down and go, okay, preparing for this, I'm going to check in with you and let you know everything that's gone on that I haven't been honest about.
Yeah.
So
the next question is really hard for me. It actually really, really breaks my heart. It is, what if your spouse refuses the help? Refuses the counseling, refuses the help? Then what do you do? This is obviously a difficult question for me to ask. I'm very, very heartbroken for anyone who has to experience that. I myself have not had to experience that. My husband, for the most part, there were times where maybe he didn't want to go to counseling, or maybe he didn't want to work on this. We had our moments of that.
Sure.
They were a lot more few and far between. I find it very lucky for both of us that we both wanted to stay in this and work hard to make our marriage work. It's very lucky that we both chose to do that, and that we both chose to seek out help. And so, do I have a ton of experience in this other than friends? No, I don't. My highest recommendation, what I would do, what I hope I would do if Chris didn't want help or never got help, is that I would get myself the help. If your spouse doesn't want help, unfortunately, I don't really know what you can do in that scenario. I don't really know what you do when they're refusing help. But I do know you get yourself help. I do know that you go to counseling. I do know that you can go to groups. I do know that you can do all those things because you get yourself to a place where you can heal, and where your heart starts to, get that healing and that comfort that you so desperately deserve and need. Um, and the spouse either, my counselor once said, in a time where Chris was being, he was going to counseling and he was doing the work, but it was 100% like dotting the i's and crossing the t's. Like, he wasn't really in it at the time. He wasn't really getting the help.
Physically present, but
yeah, so he was doing what he had to do to keep our marriage together, but it was a point in time he didn't really want to do it. And what my counselor said was, you keep climbing the ladder, and hopefully he keeps climbing with you and meets you at the top. But if he does not, you get over that mountain, and he'll stay where he is. And you'll cross that bridge if it comes. And that's a really heartbreaking thing. That was hard for me to hear, because it's like, okay. And a lot of people don't want to go do this. Like, if one or the other spouse a lot of the times falls out of counseling or gets out of a group, or doesn't do the check-ins, or doesn't do, like, the study on all these things of addiction and stuff like that, more often than not, a lot of the times both spouses leave together. And my biggest recommendation, if your spouse doesn't want to get help, is you get help. For you. You do it for you. You find, like they always say, forgiveness or whatever is not for the other person, it's for yourself. And I 100% believe that. It's because you don't want to die inside. You don't want your heart to, become so hurt that you can't get back up. You get yourself the help. That I hope that helps. I'm so sorry. That's such a heartbreaking situation if a spouse doesn't want to get help.
And obviously I'm not at all qualified to answer this specific question, but I guess a thought that really came into my mind as Ashley was talking, because she talked about how lucky we are that we both wanted to fight. And I started getting emotional because I know how absolutely lucky I am. So I'll speak to an addict and say, your recovery should not be contingent upon whether or not your spouse is willing to stay with you, work with you, or anything else. I mean, I would hope that I would have a desire to, and put forth the effort to continuously work to overcome this addiction, which has destroyed our marriage, which we are rebuilding. But regardless of whether Ashley stayed with me or not. And so for addicts, I'll say, if your spouse is so pained and whatnot, I can completely understand why. You shouldn't sit there and say, well, my recovery is contingent upon whether or not you're going to stay with me. Or so yeah. I'll say that.
The next question was restrictions on technology. They said in 2019 it's going to be pretty hard to have a flip phone. Lots of places are going away with that. Have you guys discussed that? Does he have the flip phone so that he doesn't mess up? Is that the reason for the flip phone?
Yeah. I have a flip phone not because it will be what stops me from relapsing, because I'm an addict, and if I really, really want to relapse, I'm going to find
He'll find
out
a
how
way.
to.
He'll find a way.
Filters, I'll find a way. Uh, doesn't matter. I have a flip phone because it is an added layer of protection.
Yeah.
It just like the filters on my computer are an added layer of protection. They are a, hey, wait a minute, are you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah.
You want to go down this road? It's a warning.
One more
That's,
freeze moment to
yeah.
ask your brain if you really want to jump that hurdle.
Now, yeah, a flip phone is a pretty rare thing for somebody to have in this day and age, and it's interesting because I have a flip phone because I'm an addict and because it came to a boiling point of nearly destroying our marriage. But I will say it's extremely liberating.
Yeah.
I'm not addicted to a phone, which I was before, and not just in a pornography sense, but just of needing to constantly check
Yeah.
in and this and that. And I mean, there's times now I don't even take a phone with me,
And see, and I
but
think it's great. I look at it and I'm almost like, and I was just having this conversation with another couple who's going through this. It was like, uh, the spouse was mad because the other spouse wanted them to get rid of their smartphone, and the other spouse was like, I'll get rid of mine too. It'll be great. It'll be liberating so that we don't have to deal with this. And I agree with that because I am far too often on my phone, on Facebook, on Instagram, on anything like that. It's just lots of time sucking things. So it's actually been a really great thing on many levels to have a flip phone and to see how much good the flip phones can do. But our phone company is going away with them at the end of this year, in December. And we have started to discuss.
Yeah, we've started to figure out what to do.
Well, what will we
Is
do?
it to look for another carrier where I can have a phone, or is it, is it going to be something with filters or whatever else like is on my computers? I mean, I will always have, because it's my choice, some type of a restriction on whatever will lead me
Yeah.
to pornography. Phone, tablet, computer. I mean, I work in an office where a lot of times I'm alone and I have computers, so
Surrounding it.
yeah. So I know I have to protect myself. I have the flip phone because it's just an added layer.
But I will tell you, whatever that decision is, I'm letting him make that decision.
Yeah, that's
because again, these are some of those things that for me personally, it literally makes me so tired to even have to sit there and think of, okay, so what's our next option? What are we gonna have to do? How am I gonna protect him from looking at more pornography? I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be his babysitter. So that is something he will figure out, and
Yep.
he'll let me know. That is one of those
and that's one of those
communication
things
pieces,
we'll communicate. Huh?
and he'll check in with me of, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is my solution for the fact that the flip phones are going away.
Yep.
And I'll be like, okay. Then, because again, I've been in this for far too long to know that if he was going to slip up, he would find a way. There's not a single thing that's going to stop him from slipping up. So, next question. Is it okay to yell, to be angry, to be mad? Does that make you a bad supporter or a bad spouse if you do those things? Here's the thing. I mean, obviously, I could pull out a Mary Poppins answer right now and say that a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down and stuff like that. And I could totally be like, oh, don't yell, don't be angry, don't be mad. Let's deal with this in a nice communicating way. But I want to be somebody who can tell you, because I have been judged a few times because I've yelled or been angry or been whatever at my spouse. And
So
I'm going to tell you,
forgiven.
Oh, I guess you haven't forgiven him. I can tell you right now, you're gonna be flipping mad. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let's think about what's going on here. And yes, you're gonna be mad. And yes, you're gonna be angry. And does that make you a bad spouse or a bad supporter? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Do I strive to control my anger? Sure. Do I try to, when I'm upset or hurt, approach it in a calm, out of the drama triangle, out of this raging, upset person way. Yes, I absolutely try to approach my feelings when I'm upset or hurt or in pain. But that's the thing, anger, yelling, all of those are secondary emotions to pain. That's where that anger is coming from. That's where it's
Yeah.
triggers, it's trauma, it's all these different things. So I just want to put it out there that I absolutely understand why you would yell, why you would be mad. And guess what? I absolutely understand why the spouse gets irritated, annoyed. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
I do understand that side of them.
Or what I'll throw out the see. This is why I don't tell you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't want to upset you, and then it doesn't help. But that's an addict copping out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. That that's there's no truth to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw this question, my immediate answer thought is, well, no, because we shouldn't yell or like we should strive to be calm and everything. But then but absolutely, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I completely understand why you would yell at me.
Yeah.
I completely understand why you'd be angry, especially because a lot of those times I'm being angry and belligerent and terrible, and so.
Well, and I had a friend the other day. They told me that they're like, I'm really embarrassed to admit this, but I've actually even sometimes gotten like a little bit physical, like anger at my spouse for doing this. And there was so much shame in this friend's voice. And I was like, I've thrown a phone at my husband's head. I've clawed his arm. I and somebody was like, "Oh, they're abusive. You should leave them." No. No. It's called we all do things, and we're just a very open couple, obviously. I'm telling you I threw a phone at my husband's head. Let's be real here. Behind
You
your
just found
closed
out that I
door.
cheated on you, and
Yeah, I just
you
found out
found messages and everything else.
I just found out he cheated on me, and I was scrolling through the messages with his girlfriend. You better believe I threw a phone at his head. I'm sorry. Come on, let's be real here.
And
So,
again, I would have done the same thing. So
yeah, I mean, that's why I'm like, I feel bad because I'm very real, and sometimes I don't know that people always know how to take that, or they don't know how to take my bluntness, and that's fine. But I just don't want this poor person to feel like they are a bad supporter or a bad spouse because they're yelling and are angry.
yeah.
I do think that there's better ways that we can handle situations, and that we can get there and that we can work on that. But I also think that both people need to understand you're going to have emotions that come out that are 1000% normal, and I cannot blame you for that.
Nope.
Not 1 second can anybody blame you, and if they do, let's go ahead and tell them to live through this trial and
Yep.
see if they can do it better. So that's my super honest 2 cents. I don't know.
It's kind of like before I had kids, and you'd be at the grocery store, and a kid is like
Yeah.
being unruly and whatnot, and you just kind of look at that and be like, "Geez, like my kids will never do that." And then
They do.
you have kids and
A lot.
realize, hey, that's just a parent thing. And now, you know, I'm at the grocery store, and if I see a kid crying and giving mom a hard time or dad a hard time,
No, it's just
I can just smile and go, "Yep,
yeah.
I can understand why you'd yell." And if somebody's out there thinking, no, that's not okay, it's because you have not been through this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I just want to be clear that it's such a hard situation.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it will bring on so many emotions. And if you are in the furious, the yelling, the screaming stages, and even way further down the road, even if you've known about this for a long time, it takes work on both parts to be able to get over that. There has to be. I have stopped yelling and screaming and furiousness because Chris has been able to start listening and hearing and sitting with me in my pain and understanding why I'm mad, why I'm hurt, why I'm everything. Before, when he tried to deflect it onto me or tried to get out of it or tried to take the victim role of, oh, you just shouldn't be married to me, blah, 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 then that is the kind of stuff that I like. It would continue to make me be a screamer and angry and this and that. But now that we can see each other and put ourselves in each other's shoes, that has gone away a ton.
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 years now of counseling, of work,
Yeah.
of communicating, of checking in, of talking, of doing videos that are helpful to us, extremely
Yes.
helpful to me as an addict to reflect and be open and understand, hey, here's an opportunity to help others, hopefully, but it really helps me. I mean, these are a huge help to me.
Yeah.
I think probably more than anyone, because I get to be honest about something I've never been honest about.
Yeah.
So,
this last one, we might almost have to do another video on it. But they were basically like, I live in fear. How do I get out of fear? Fear, again, it's another one of those emotions that you are absolutely going to experience. I still feel like I live in fear all the time. Not all the time, but I still feel like I feel fear constantly, of wondering, what's he doing? What's that late text for?
Getting home. Who texted
He
you
got
at
home
12
late.
o'clock?
Just lots of things. There's lots of times where the fear still comes in. The fear was really, really bad at the beginning. There is still times that fear comes in. And the only thing that I can say that I really do is, it's like a mind over matter kind of a thing. Is that my mind starts to do now. What I basically do is I think I just don't want to live this way. I don't want to constantly be afraid or live in fear that my husband is doing something wrong. So the best that I can do is keep living my life the way I want to live my life, healing, setting my goals, doing the things that I've always set out to do, and just keep living in a way that I hope he's not doing something. That's my hope.
Just a hope.
And if something comes up later on, then I'll cross that bridge when it comes. But I don't want to live every second of every day continually fearing that he is going to do this to me again, or that he's doing this right now, or that this, and this. And the time that those tiny fears come in, a lot of the times I will pray. Everything in life I feel like can sometimes be very contradictory, because they say things like, if you're living in fear, you're not having faith, or something like that. But see, the thing is I disagree, because lots of times I feel like God gives us the fear to alert us, to let us know something's off and something's wrong. So sometimes the fear is very necessary. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with God, really. And like I said, the other part of me is just mind over matter. Like, I just choose, like, I don't want this to control every thought. I mean, it literally used to be every thought I had. Every single thought of, he's going to do this to me again. Every time the phone would ring, every time I would be brushing my teeth, I would be anywhere at all throughout the day. The first, I would say, year and a half was constant fear. And I just got to a point where I just didn't want to live like that anymore. His addiction had become mine, and I'm not even addicted. Yeah. So it was just, I had to set it free, and I had to start going on with me and my life. And that's the best advice I can give with fear. I hope these help. Yeah. We just want to end our videos, and we're probably just going to say this every time to be very clear that when we make these videos, this is what has mostly worked and what not works for us. And it's for us. Every single person is unique. Every situation is unique. And every single answer, may not be the answer to others. We know that we're doing what we can for us and for our marriage, and we make these videos in hopes to help people feel validated, not alone, not crazy, and give them hope. And hopefully, we have given you some answers to some questions that you might have that could help or could work in your
Yeah.
relationships. That I very much so hope that that happens. But if nothing else, we're very open about this to tell you that we are sorry and that you are not alone and that every situation is unique. And we literally pray for couples everywhere
Yeah.
that are struggling with this, that we hope that God is sending, his workers, his angels here on the earth to send you just one more message, one more smile, one more quote, one more friend dropping off bread at your door, or whatever it is that they're doing to let you put one more foot in front of the other, because this trial is rough. And so we're thankful for the questions that we get. So
Thank you
because
very
I
much.
know that it takes a lot to have to even comment or subscribe or you know ask
Or
these
take time.
questions and
Yeah.
take the time to watch these videos. But I do think these questions are very much so what a lot of people have. And so every time you ask the questions, it's helping others. So thank
Thank you.
you.